So that time frame is crucial. So if on 13thjurorpodcast.com, on the main page, I have the main timeline is like an interactive timeline that you can kind of scroll through. And I did a separate one specifically for that time frame, just because that one is so crucial. There's some issues with this, and I had gone over in one of the episodes before they had abandoned the 1225 is the time of impact. I know they've abandoned that since then. I think I haven't seen it in the document since then, but part of that whole reconstruction information that they had done, they're opining on all of that, was based on the step data and all of that. So if you click on home up there and then scroll down, that's the main one. Scroll down a little bit more. That one, the crucial minutes, that's the timeline. So that one has everything kind of broken down. This part's so there's some conflicting data in this, which is why I think there's so many issues with the interpretation of some of the information, and which is more reliable and what's not. So the 80 steps and the 3 flights of stairs that were recorded are one of those things that I did a lot of research on that to find out how reliable that is. And from everything that I could tell, and I put the links to the study on the website and everything too, so you can, anybody is welcome to look at it and kind of see what I based it on. But everything I could find said that the step data is really reliable, but the distance and the timing of the steps is not necessarily reliable. So if you walked, 80 steps, it says that usually that is, on iPhones and on that specific iPhone, that's pretty accurate, but the timing of it and the distance that's covered is not necessarily going to be accurate. So I have in that chart right there, it shows the Apple Health data with the 80 steps and 3 flights of stairs. And then, of course, that's the same time that Proctor and Guarino's report says that they are driving through the neighborhood. One of the things on the Proctor and Guarino report that I think it's important to me anyway, but just because it's part of the facts, the information that they used to do that, they manually plotted those data points. And I am not saying that they did it wrong. I am not saying anything. I am just saying that they are manually plotted data points on an app on the phone. So I think a lot of what people have seen from that report that they had was they were thinking that came directly from like a Celebrite or something like that, and that's not what those were. So I think that that's something that has been confused a lot, and I just feel like it's important to mention. But those two pieces of information, of course, contradict each other. So it's kind of going to be open to interpretation for each of the jurors to decide what they find more reliable, I guess. And then that 1225 time of impact was based on them saying that was the last time that the phone showed movement. But of course, there were steps recorded after that from 1231 to 1232. And there was the phone call that shows answered from Jim McCabe for whatever it was, 8 seconds or something like that at 1229. So there were things that go against that 1225 time of impact. And also you can see like the little green bracket, Ryan Nagel was in that truck behind Karen at that time. So that whole, reverse 62 feet and hit him and then keep reversing and then drive off. There's no possible way that could have happened the way that they said it did in that, in those documents with Ryan parked right there behind her. So he said in his interview, I think it was from his interview, that he pulled in right, like, they pulled in tandem behind Karen and John when they pulled up. He says that they were there for about 5 minutes. So that would make the estimate of the time that he left around 12:29 ish. Of course, we don't know the exacts because of it's just his estimate, and also his estimate on what time he got there was way off. So we don't know exactly, how long he was really there. But if they do have any kind of cell phone information from any of them in that truck that could narrow that down a little bit, I think it could tell us a lot more. But those 36 steps were recorded after the estimated time when he would have left. And then, of course, Karen, the latest that she could have left to get home by that 12:41 voicemail would have been 12:35 ish at the latest. So I saw Brian's question was, would there have been time for something to happen to him from the time Ryan left after, and I mean, based on just what we know, potentially there could have been.
Absolutely. I mean, you're showing the steps right there, 12:31 to 12:32.
Yeah. And there was I have the note in there too. She said that she saw Karen's SUV at the opposite end of the yard that the trooper's report shows that it was. So she said that she saw them parked by the driveway at that time, which I say she said, according to the document, she said it. Nothing was recorded, so we don't know if this is her saying this or if it was, another one of the police or, whoever messed up all that stuff. But to say it was by the driveway is very specific, of course. So, that was another one of the inconsistencies. There are so many inconsistencies with all the statements.
And I love the charts because it just, for, a lot of us, it's so easy to see it plotted.
Yeah.
And it means a lot to see it just plotted right there. It's very simple.
And if you scroll over everything, I kind of break down the different time frames too, and go over the specifics of what is going on during those times, even to where they're turning and all of that. So those manually plotted points that Proctor and Guarino did on their report, I even have I put those on a map and showed, where those are. That's a copy of the study. There's a link to it that talks about the accuracy of the step data. And then those are the time of those data points that were marked. And also there, this is one of the important things too. There's a U-turn, or not a U-turn, but a reverse direction where they missed one of the turns. And when they missed turning onto Fairview, and she put it in reverse direction to then go back to Fairview to turn because they were lost. She didn't know where she was going. And I think that's important too. And I think it's one of those little details that a lot of people miss. But there has been talk about the Lexus showing that the car was put in reverse, but there's never been a timestamp associated to it that I've ever seen. But that would have been a reverse direction, when they missed Fairview. So that's something that I noted on there too.
There it is, right?
Yeah.
Here's the reverse right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why they were coming from that direction when Ryan Nagel was turning on at the same time. And then that's the time, according to the plotted points, that they said that they arrived. And I have at the very bottom of it, it's hard to see on the screen because I've got it kind of small, but you can see under each of the little pictures, it has the issues with each individual part. So it'll tell you, if I have something on there, like this is what the information is showing, but then there'll be the issue saying that one that says it contradicts the Apple Data Health Times. So any of the contradictions I have specifically listed so you can kind of see everything.
And click on it.
Yeah.
It's very cool. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
Thank you.
even realize that you did it this way too, where you can just click on it and go across.
Yeah. I think it helps to break everything down a little bit, because this is one of those things. And one thing I've noticed anytime I'm covering a trial, there's always a very critical moment in some of these timelines where, you know, the moments that are in question are sometimes down to, you know, a couple hours, sometimes down to, you know, 20 or 30 minutes like this one. And those, the more information you can get on that time frame and the more exact, you know, times and points you can get, it makes it easier to build the rest of the theory around it and figure out, you know, what works and what doesn't. Yeah, those are the data points that show where Jen McCabe said that she saw Karen and John parked, and then where the data points actually show that Karen and John were parked based on John's phone. And then that's the impact per the Commonwealth's theory about the, which, like I said, I think they've ditched that one now because it didn't work, but they tend to do that. Oh, that is the steps, the blue, and all the text messages. So you can see that Jen's kind of blowing him up at this point. Jen McCabe is blowing up John's phone, and the steps show from her, and I have them specified. You can see like the taller pink is the watch, and then the other one is the phone. But it has the steps and kind of give an idea of their, you know, the action and what's going on as she's calling him and blowing him up. And then the call, you know, again, the answered call contradicts the Commonwealth's theory on that one too.
8 seconds, 8-second call.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, you know, I normally in most trials, I look at it and I'm like, you know, the data doesn't lie. We can look at the data. But the problem with this one is there's different interpretations of the data. So it makes it a little bit harder to, you know, when there's conflicting data, it makes it a little bit harder because there is going to be a margin of error in some of these things. And in some of them, there's not, you know, the times that the phone calls happen and things like that. But with, you know, the step data and the GPS points, there's a margin of error. And because they contradict each other, it's kind of going to come down to, you know, what each juror thinks is more reliable. And then that's all the things that support the Commonwealth and the things that support the defense on their theories based on just these time frames.
So like you said, you're showing the both sides on this.
Yeah.
But that's not enough. They still have to get all mad at you and attack you, and
yeah.
Just,
yeah, it's crazy.
I want to thank you for coming on tonight and sharing all the content. Again, the website, we have it, I think we're sharing it in the comments, but I'm going to put it up on the screen so people know. It's 13thjurorpodcast.com. You can see all this information, and you got all the podcast episodes. You got write-ups on everything. It's an amazing, everyone should be sharing it, checking it out.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to stay in. I'm not going to be on camera anymore, but I am going to, because I got to walk Lucy, but I'm going to put my headphones in so I can keep listening. Awesome. So I can.
And you have YouTube. How do people find the YouTube too? Because that's the big thing. I know that you just got a lot more subscribers there too now, but you're on Spotify everywhere. People can find you there on podcasts. But what is the YouTube too?
It's youtube.com/@Brandi Churchwell. So it's just my name. And I've got the podcast is on there as well. I've got the playlist on there. If you you know, would rather listen to it there than Apple or Spotify or wherever else. But all of that stuff is there. And then with each of the podcast episodes, I try to add some information to the website too, with different pictures and, charts and kind of visuals to help break everything down, because with this one being so complicated and there's so many people involved, I know it helps to have visual aids.
Absolutely, it does, and it's been so helpful. Like people have been sharing those around everywhere. Are you amazed like how far they get shared?
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. It the I mean, I guess that's one of the things about social media. You can post something and then all of a sudden it's seen in all these different countries and by so many different eyes, and it's great. I love when people share their work, with me, and so I want to share mine with everybody else. And I think the more we all kind of are able to share everything with each other, it helps us all to understand more of it. So